We're live.
Boom.
Howdy, everybody. Monday night.
We got to let Ben know.
Scott, Bart, thanks for joining us. Everybody's filtering in. Oh, just getting caught up here. Good to see everybody. Wow. Tom R. Who else is in here? Nice. How you guys doing, Scott, Bart?
Phenomenal.
Good. And first of all, thank you for inviting us in. Pleasure to do this.
No, it's good to have you. It's funny because the first time we met technically was on your channel, and that was just over a year ago, I think, talking about the society. And it's funny how tables have turned.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah,
and
I didn't realize it'd been a year ago.
I brought in one of my shinier manga shirts for the society to see.
Well,
He's thrilled. He's thrilled about it.
Well, I think I wore the same shirt that I'm wearing now. And I really didn't plan that, but that actually happened. I'm noticing.
But you hit on a very good point. It's been 1 year, and it's a whole different world. We're coming on the society's channel, and you are bringing us on.
Well, I mean, in a year, it's a different world. That your channel has blown up. I mean, you guys are like the whiskey celebrities of YouTube. I mean, there are a lot of whiskey YouTubers, but you guys are really you're very active. You're doing a lot, you know.
Well, I tell Scott all the time, it's really the manga influence.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
It's
we have been arranged for us to get some samples of the August Outturn. We are planning on doing some reviews as well later. We have some food in front of us. We wanted some palate cleansers, some crackers, some cheeses just to come in between each one. So we do have this out here. You'll see us munching in between each.
Now, I will tell you, this is how Scott does it. And when you're at my house, as he knows, I would have tossed you a bag of already cubed cheese and maybe some kind of beef something. This is on a wooden like serving tray, 3 different types of Gouda, cubed, sliced, whatever you did here.
There's Gouda and cheddar, and then a bourbon cheese. Right
there. Excuse me. It's Gouda, some kind of bourbon influence deal, and then cheddar.
Irish cheddar.
An Irish cheddar. We've got
hummus.
Some kind of whipped up hummus. We've got baby carrots, some kind of cucumber, and a beef thing here. This is unbelievable. I haven't eaten this good in years. That's all I'm saying.
We could do a pairing. I don't know.
No, we'll stay clean. I just wanted to reference. Yeah, it's so big it can be seen in the shop, which is I am very impressed by that. Sorry.
Well, no. So hey, everyone who's filtering in, it's kind of funny. Like you're running shotgun this time around. You guys. I mentioned to everybody who's watching. I mentioned it to Scott and Bart earlier. It's funny they bring this whole Scott brought this food tray out there. I don't think you guys ever do that in your own show at all.
Because we film at my house.
Well, we have a couple. When we do live streams, we have a couple of times.
That's true. Yeah, at my house, this would have like confused and befuddled me. I'm just going to tell you. And I would have had a plate, and he would have been like, I have a serving tray, and I'd be like, who are you? Are you that fancy? But you do treat me well. Sorry, we should focus on the turn.
Yes.
Well, I think someone just said, Tom R., you need a challenge coin. I had a challenge. Oh, wait, where is it? Oh, you know what? In my right pocket, I have a challenge coin, actually. Someone just said I need one.
Oh, there you go.
Nice.
Very nice.
We got a Scotch for Dummies coins here that they've got out.
This is code 296 or coin 296. When is that from? I don't know.
That's Cask 2. We're almost out of Cask 3 now, so Cask 4 is in the works.
Oh, you kind of have it like the society cask. So that's Cask 2.
Yep.
So is that 296 from the second cask?
We did 500 in that one.
No, that was 350.
Ooh, that was only 350.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Cask 3 was 500.
I stand corrected.
Just a quick note for everybody who's coming in. So, we're going to be tasting some of these whiskeys as we've kind of advertised from the August Outturn, which is actually coming out tomorrow. But as people are filtering in and we're getting started, I want to just pour this whiskey first. And I sent the Dummies a sample. This is cask 76.135. Came out last month. And I tasted this live when we had Jenna last month as our guest. And I think there's still a few of these available, but I said it was an interesting one, and a lot of members went after it and told us that they love it. And so if anyone's at home drinking this, it's cask 76.135, Moment of Serenity. which is pretty fancy in name. I mean, so Scott and Bart, they don't know. I sent these samples. They don't actually know what they are yet. I put just the code on there and the names, but I think if you guys are okay with it, I'm going to go through. I'll just tell everybody what it is.
Yeah.
You know, by what's available on the label here. And then I think it'll be good because you guys, I mean, you do the blind tastings all the time, and you can kind of just share your first impressions.
Well, let's
totally
just real
blind.
quick though. This one is from July's Outturn. It's the only one. The other 5 that we have are from August. We didn't want to. We wanted to keep. We didn't look up the ages of them. We know they're high. They're going to be high ABVs. We don't know what distilleries they're from. We don't know what kind of casks they've been in, anything. We wanted to come into August Outturns, like you say, blind. So, and then we'll just let you introduce or talk about each one as we're going.
With one caveat, I knew one of the distillery numbers. That's all I'm going to say. Just kind of glancing, like I know where that's from.
Okay.
So,
you bought one from that distillery, you know, last year, right?
right. Yes, I did. Yes. So but I know nothing. I haven't looked it up. I haven't done anything.
So just what's interesting, this is 76135. We'll keep the distillery off as we do on our bottles, let the whiskeys do the talking. But interesting cask. This is actually a double matured single cask whiskey. So it spent 14 years in American oak ex-bourbon hogshead, and then we transferred it for 1 more year to a first fill PX sherry hogshead.
Ooh.
So, you know, and this is from the Speyside region, distilled in 2001, bottled at 55.1%. And I think that really, I'm reminded now that the topic, as we've put it here on the title, and it's something that people have been asking for. It's just a quick little explanation of really the different regions of Scotland and the flavors to expect within it. So that as an ongoing theme, maybe I think we can touch on that. But this is a classic Speyside whiskey, but double matured. Do you guys have, for regions, do you guys have preferences? Are there certain regions you
Speyside.
like?
Isla.
Okay, so maybe just to break it down, I mean, and everybody, this is not a science or anything. This is really just kind of opinions of everything, but a little bit of background. You know, there's the map of Scotland's been redrawn quite a bit in history. Right now, I think registered by, or really recognized by the Scotch Whisky Association, there's 5. Speyside is where we're starting here with this one, and we don't have every region represented in the samples, but Speyside being, you know, the largest producer by volume. And I don't know, for me, I get a lot of like classic orchard fruit, and vanilla and honey is really the flavor profile I get from Speyside.
Sweeter, definitely.
Sweeter, yeah.
I mean, Balvenie is a Speyside.
Yeah.
I'm used to, so definitely when I think Speyside, I think generally, and again, not nobody's pigeonholed into any of these, but I would say generally a sweeter dram overall.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's your point. The pigeonhole thing. I think unlike wine, where I think there are really distinct differences, and I think maybe we'll get into some of these. I'm looking down here at the selection, but the lines are a little bit blurred between regions. You know, it's not as clean cut. But generally, you know, I think the experience, to your point, you know, as it's listed on our bottle and on the website, a lot of people do like to know the region. So Speyside, which is a bit of a sweeter dram, much fruitier, a lot of vanilla for me.
And I get the plums in here, and I get the like a dry sweetness at the same time.
Yeah, a lot of oak. There's a heavy maltiness on the nose. And actually a lot of, if the sherry doesn't come through on the nose, or the wine casking.
Oh, that's like, I think I haven't tasted this before. That's intense. That's packing some heat.
Yes.
55.1, and it tastes all of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whoa. I'm gonna add some water here.
Yep. No, the ABV, it's funny because I was thinking it might even have been a higher ABV than that. We don't have our ABVs on our samples here, but I was thinking, wow, that is packing some spark, some punch.
Scott, what was that face?
Just going in, trying to get a little bit, I got to close my eyes. It really helps me kind of focus on the palate.
You're trying not to see the manga shirt.
Well, that too. Nice. I think the sherry casking has turned into more of a floral notes with it, rather than some of the usual dark fruit sherries, more like a rose petal.
I did not get rose petal.
And almost like it. A little bit of salt as well.
Yeah, I mean, when you think of like the Speyside style, it can get a little complicated because you have like the backbone, and we talked about a very fruity, orchard fruit, a lot of that, vanilla, honey. But you have to also consider the type of wood, because in Speyside, and a lot of whiskey is also matured in sherry casks. This is a unique one because it's 14 years in American oak ex-bourbon hogshead, then transferred to a PX sherry, which is very different from Oloroso sherry, which is most of sherry matured whiskey.
Right.
It's got a fresh, vibrant, like dark. Bart, you mentioned plums. A lot of that going on.
No, I'm saying that's not there. So yeah, I didn't realize it was PX finished, which brings to me usually is a little bit lighter. Doesn't bring the darker fruits that the Oloroso sherry brings. So that's why I didn't get any of the plum. Yeah. That stuff is more of like the floral rose petal type.
I think we realized that, Bart, like you and I have pretty similar palates and like what we'd attack, which is a different, because I do get a lot of that plum. First one.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. Well, I know you enjoy peated whiskey as well. And early on, I know I was the early convert with the Dummies to becoming a peat head. I would not call Scott a peat head, but you definitely enjoy the complexities that come with peated as well. I've
learned to like them.
Yeah. See, there you go. Yeah. Whereas I'm like, I'm in love. So, but yeah, I would say you and I, again, that's one of the beauties about even watching any whiskey reviewer is I always tell people, look for somebody that has a similar palate to you, and that'll tell you way more about if you personally will enjoy the whiskey or not, if they do.
I'm just checking in some of these comments. You guys are the pretty popular here for this, upcoming SMWS channel here. But a lot of people are enjoying society whiskey. 66.102 sweet peat. Funny. 78.41, a real sherry monster from July. I think Scott would like this one.
Is that the sherry bomb one?
That's 78.41. That was a stunner of whiskey. But I'll just spoiler alert, we have one here in this lineup that I think, if you like that one, this is going to take it a little even. Well, I'm not going to compare, but they're both good. But it's really
well. Let's go into a little bit of a story time here in case Brianna is watching, because Bart called up. Well, Bart was you were trying to order online or something, but
no, I just call. Yeah, I could never. I don't know. I can't ever remember any of the code or anything or whatever my little thing is. So I just call, and I called. Well, go ahead. Yeah.
Brianna answers.
Right.
Bart's talking to her. She recognizes the voice. You tell her who you are.
Well, she says you sound familiar, I was like, oh. And I said, well, it's Bart, Brunsheen. And then on the course as we come up, it shows Scotch Test Dummies. And she was like, oh, I should have recognized the voice. I love the show. And then she's like, yeah, I'm a Jersey girl, and we had this great car. I didn't want to hang up. I'm like, I hope no other orders are coming in. She's phenomenal.
But you were going to order me the sherry bomb, but it had already sold out.
That was it too. So knowledgeable. I'm like, so I pick up a couple things I'm looking for, and I'm like, hey, what about this? I think Scott would love it. She goes, that was gone in 36 minutes.
Well, just for that, on that note, one of the whiskeys we'll be tasting is actually from that same distillery, and it's about twice as old as that one. But it's I'm really excited about this.
Yeah, he'll be excited though. Yeah, okay. It was just funny that I mentioned. I'm like, hey, just thinking Scott might like this, and she's like, oh, he would. Gone. That thing sold out. Literally, it was like I think she said 36 minutes.
Now, that one is very good, that 76.135. And I saw when you held the bottle up, it's 15 years old, 55%. I like it. I think it's delicious.
So with that, just real quick side note, like for everybody, if you're members, if you're watching, it sounds like obviously quite a few people are. I didn't realize this. I was a member before I was working for the society, but we do a lot of business over the phone. And a lot of members call in and we'll actually, we take notes of what do you enjoy, what type of whiskeys. not just for society whiskeys, but in general, people will say, "Oh, I like Lagavulin 16." We'll make a note, or I like Macallan 12. Basic core whiskeys. We'll make a note. So when they call and they're saying, "Hey, all these single cask whiskeys are available. Help me decide." We actually guide them through our Outturn. So it's a very personal experience. I know I'm doing kind of like a little sales plug right now, but
no. It was so good. I called Scott and said, "Don't order just online anymore. Call in." And I think you did, didn't you? Didn't you call in for something? No? Okay. But yeah, it was so, Brianna was so awesome. It was very personal. I think I told Scott, even if I was inclined to just go online and pick and choose, I'm calling. She was great. So just a nice person. I remember thinking as I hung up, that's who you want answering the phone. I mean, I was just like, she was awesome.
Yeah, Brianna and I split the phone. I mean, when it rings on both. We have three of us really are answering the phone. So it's, I was calling when, as a member, I would call and say, "What's out? What's out?" You know what I like. You tell me what you like. I would just tell, for members, like I'm the other side of the table now, but I would just say, always call and just,
it was great.
So, okay, let's move in. I want to obviously we'll kind of keep revisiting the regions discussion, but we have 5 whiskeys. So these are all coming out tomorrow. And for this selection, this is 5 whiskeys, but really we have about 15-ish, I want to say, coming out in total tomorrow. Lately, we've been selling out relatively quickly, and we're trying to make some adjustments in the near future to account for that. But for a number of reasons, maybe it's the whiskeys we're bringing in, or just a lot of the word is getting out. A lot of society members are really happy about it. So I want to kind of run through. We'll go with 5 whiskeys. Are very different, building up to one that on Instagram, I know I posted about it. They won an award. It's pretty remarkable, but really getting there, I think, is quite the journey in its own right. So are you guys ready? So the first one is from Distillery 2. You have that up?
Right here, 2.102, the Eternal Sunshine. That's all we know about it.
Yeah, so this is 2.102. This is from Speyside, the same region as before. It's distilled in October 2004, matured entirely in a refill ex-bourbon barrel, 12 years bottled at 56.6%. So on paper, I feel like that is as classic as a Speyside whiskey can be. If that makes sense. Here's the bottle too, if you see it. I know it's so bright. I have this light here. And you guys, so that's the first time you've heard about that. I mean, obviously the sample, everything's blind. You haven't tasted this.
Right.
Yep. We did that intentionally.
Yeah.
We didn't pre-study or anything. So
I get definitely a heavy maltiness, and I almost thought this was like an unpeated Bunnahabhain on the nose. But citrus, lemon.
Whew.
Again, it seems like a little bit of salt.
Right. Malt, citrus.
Yeah.
I'll echo you, and even, the lemon. I got a little deep in there. Whew.
Yeah, I got like a lot of like linseed, like oil, like it's very oily on the nose. Like there's like a lemon peel or like a lemon rind, like the natural oils from the inside of the peel itself, if you will. But I get a little hint of vanilla. It's very oaky, for me at least. And then a bit of like pear, or some sort of orchard fruit, like a pear or maybe like a green apple. But it's just it's like a very bright and happy sort of summer afternoon whiskey.
ABV doesn't seem, coming off on the nose, ABV doesn't really feel that high.
It's got a creamy, I'm going to have to come in a couple times here. I get a real nice creamy mouth feel right on the open. Thick, even almost a little viscous. Wow. I'm going to have to pop back in to get flavor notes.
Yeah, very, very warming. Vanilla creams. A lot of malt.
What I like about this whiskey is that it's like, it reminds me of when I first started drinking single malt whiskey. Some of the flavors are that are present, like the experience is similar, but I should say the flavor profile is similar to, I think, really the stepping stones to get into the category. But at cask strength, just straight from the cask, not chill filtered. When you have the texture and the power of it, it's like it's familiar to you back in the day, but it's unlike I kind of wish like I started with this, but I don't think I'd be able to handle it.
Right.
Unless someone showed me how to enjoy with like a little bit of water here.
Yep, we're bringing ours down a little bit. Actually, the strength of this, for me, may be masking some of the complexities of flavor right now. I get a little bit of a marshmallow sweetness at the end in the finish. The finish is quick, kind of goes into that sweet, light, marshmallowy sugar and then drops. And that's where I'm still getting that burst, that strong kind of ABV. And I want to see if I can bring her down a little bit.
I was going to say juicy fruit and then a little bit of mango at the same time. Little bit of tropical fruit, not a lot.
Wow. It really shines on the open. That thick, rich mouthfeel, that creaminess is still the favorite part of this dram for me.
Oh, shout out to Wesley, who was drinking the Real Sherry Monster, who said, joined after Ben's last show with Scotch Test Dummies, now have 9 SMWS bottles. And then emoji, I think, is a happy one. Well, Wesley, that's amazing. I mean, I think you can either blame myself or blame the Dummies.
Boom. We'll take the blame.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, and real quick, Wes is registered for our 5th anniversary gathering, October 19th and 20th. He's in Colorado Springs.
Ooh, yeah.
And he's bringing the Stranahan snowflakes.
That's right, the snowflake
sample.
I don't know if he wants us saying everybody's going to want a sample.
He's bringing us a sample, I said.
Small sample.
I'll see you there, Wes. I'll bring some samples myself.
Yeah, yeah. Matter of fact, yeah.
Ben will be there.
Didn't even think about that.
Yeah, the dinner. Yeah.
Ben will be there with the Scotch Malt Whisky Society doing the tasting Friday night.
That is right. There's a fancy dinner, and before the dinner, Scotch Malt Whisky Society tasting is going to take place. I know Lana Lou in Tampa was ecstatic. I let her know that you were locked in, and she had already gotten a ticket, and I got a little bit of a scream when she knew you were going to be there, both you and the society. She actually told me she'd been thinking. She said in Tampa Bay, there's Tampa Bay Whiskey Society. It's real bourbon strong. There's a huge group, so there's a little bit of everything. But she had been interested in the society, and when I told her you were going to be there, she was like, "That's it. That's exact. I'll get to sample some great whiskey." I said, "I guarantee it." So,
Tom R. for some reason is blaming me, just me, for his nearly 100 bottles of Scotch collection that he has now.
Does he have manga shirts? Maybe
Tom R. does not.
I could be responsible for his shirt collection, maybe. Now you're responsible for the whiskey. He probably likes your palate more than mine.
Let's move on. We got 4 more, right?
Let's real quick. If you didn't say on that last one, $125.
Thank you. Yeah.
Did we talk about that? It was the refill barrel.
Yep. Refill barrel ex-bourbon 2.102 is $125 coming out tomorrow. All these are coming out tomorrow besides the one we just tasted. Will be available around, just to be precise, if you're waiting around 1 p.m. Eastern time, perhaps. So that's a good starting point. Interestingly, the whiskeys we're about to go through now are actually progressing in age. And that's obviously not everything about it, but just this tasting order that's reflected here actually happens to be increasing in age. Just unplanned, but 12 years old to start.
Is this the first month where we're not getting the paper Outturn as well, right? It's all digital now. The paper mailing stopped, or is there one more month of it?
Yeah, so we're now just doing email.
Right.
Simply because what was happening is we were, managing the inventory, not to get too into it, but real quick, it's a lot of whiskeys come in every month, and we're bringing it all over from the UK and just managing the times. By the time we mail out the printed Outturn, we're also emailing everybody. But now casks have been selling out, by the time the day of or the day after, and so by the time a week later, everyone would get the printed Outturn in the mail, they'd call up and they say, well, we're, 5 of the casks that that I want him to buy. So we're just communicating up front the, hey, listen, check your email. It's really, you'll be the first to know if you just check your email then. So tomorrow we'll send it out.
No, I thought that was good. I mean, I got to admit, I like when it shows up, but by the time it's there, just like going and buying, I wanted to buy that bottle for him. Not that I would have called within 36 minutes, but I think it's smart just because I realize, well, I don't want to go to, but the printing costs, the trying to get it all tied in together and mailed out. The quickest way is, hey, here's our Outturn. Bam, they got it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, yeah. So all right, let's go to this. We're now venturing into the Highlands, and the Highlands with this cask, which is 26.121, called a real pick me up. There's I can show it here. The juicy oak and vanilla flavor profile. First fill bourbon barrel, 53.3%, 13 years old. So the Highlands, I just real quick, I mean, I'm keeping the theme here, just from a flavor standpoint, and this is obviously very broad, but to me, I find when I think of the Speyside versus Highlands, you have Speyside, which is the largest producer by volume. Highlands, just fun fact, if you didn't know, let's look at a map of Scotland, but it's the largest region by land, if you will. So to me, I feel like with the general Highland, it's a bit more earthy to it, just in general in the character. Not saying it's entirely indicative of the geology itself, but it's less sweet in a very fundamental way, more earthy, a bit more grassy perhaps. I think a lot of it's typically more of a spirit-driven type of whiskey as opposed to Speyside, which is more stout and very flavorful, whether it's an American oak or European oak, very sweet. So you guys
on the nose initially, it's really coming off close to the one we just did, the 2.101.
Similar, right? I mean, so that's the difference. You got to really look for it in these two, because similar in age and cast type.
Yeah, with the for those that don't know, the one we did before this, the 2.102, being an ex bourbon refill or an ex refill, it had bourbon in it at one point, it had Scotch in it at one point, it had been emptied and then refilled with Scotch. So a lot of those notes get tamed down, they get toned down. When you take something that's first fill, this one, I would expect more of those bourbon influences to come through with it. We'll see.
Well, I'm getting more vanillas right off the bat. I get a little bit of an allspice in the finish, and then there's some other things I can't quite puzzle out yet. But I'm really enjoying this one, actually. Let me see if I can figure out some of these other flavors in there.
I think it is a confusing one. Like compared to the first one, I feel like it's, if you're looking for a classic Speyside, like if you had a checklist of all the flavors you would expect from a whiskey, be like, wow, it checks this one, it checks this one, it checks this one. And this one, like to your point, Bart, like I don't know which boxes to check.
Right. I thought I almost even had, and again, it's like a whiff of peat I thought I was picking up here as well, but then I didn't get it on the second time I went in at all.
Scotch for Dummies are commenting on your smoked Gouda and
I smell marzipan.
the other dummies love marzipan.
Yeah, burnt toast is what I got sitting here.
Not near as much maltiness as from the prior bottle that we did, the 2.102. Still a lot of the very similar notes, like you're picking out the vanillas.
Yeah. It's almost like the vanilla candy stick flavor that I get from those dip in the candy thing where they dip the vanilla stick into the pouch.
Whereas with the other one, I got more like the juicy fruit and maybe a little bit of the tropicals. That's not here with this one.
No, it's a little dry. It's drier, a little more astringent on the finish. And I still really can't. I almost had everything's a hint here for me. I get like a hint of the root beer barrel candy at the finish too, but it's not heavy at all. It's that almost a brown sugary sweetness, but it's really, really light. It's not super strong as flavor wise.
Yeah, so just from again, coming out tomorrow, price at 130. So as opposed to 125, the one before that. Again, everything's straight from the cask. This is bottled at 53.5%. Something to consider when you consider the price of, a single cask whiskey. You're adding water to bring it down. The longevity of it is something to consider too. But so very similar, but I think to the point overall, a bit more unexpected is kind of where I'm going with it.
Yeah, and the vanillas for me are the most upfront flavoring. I think I might be able to puzzle some more out if this was all I had and I was able to sit here. This is one that I would want to pour a nice ounce, sip it neat, and then I would go through over an hour probably adding a drop and trying again and again and taking notes and seeing how this would change or open. Because I think if I even spent more time with it, I could puzzle out some of these other flavors that I'm getting hints of.
Well, and I think, and I added a drop of water to mine, and I think it helped it. It really kind of opened it up. It brought out more. And almost now some of those tropical fruits are coming out that weren't there before.
So something else to consider, you guys, we should have thought about, or I should have mentioned to you, is that the samples you're tasting are actually the first pours from new bottles. So when that's something to consider. We were right in those small bottles, and then contact with air has been minimal, if at all. So when I open a new society bottling, or really any cask strength whiskey, it typically takes a day or two, in my opinion, for it to really settle down. So what you're tasting, now I'm tasting pours from the bottles that, as you can see here, have been opened, and minus your samples there. So there's been some air. Obviously, most of it's liquid in the bottle, but I think I always advise that if you're buying a cask or a bottle rather from the society or any, again, independent bottles at cask strength, give it some time, because I think it takes a couple of days at least to really hit its full potential.
Now I did. You had told me that when you sent them, and I did open them today. They'd been open for about an hour. I let the bottles get some air.
Okay, that's right. Okay, good. You did know that.
Yeah.
See, that was a subconscious. Wow. Wow. Okay. That was subconscious. I'm like, it's in my head. New bottle, 2 days. So okay, 26121 are, I think, our only Highland. Well, no, it's not our only Highland, but this is a true Highland, if you will, mainland Highland whiskey of the evening.
No, I don't say. Did you mention the price on it? What it'll be?
Yeah, that one's 130. First one, 2.102, is 125. This is pretty close at 130. Someone asked earlier about joining. What does it cost to join? Here in the U.S., an annual membership is $99. And if you're a first-time member, you can also join for $150. We'll actually send a bottle. It's a really nice membership and bottle bundle. And that's offered at a pretty big discount. So, and the bottle we have is a 9-year-old Speyside, really kind of a bright, lively, very fruity whiskey. But you can comment below or email me at ben@smwsa.com, or go on the website and you can sign up there. But there's some, and then we have a tasting kit for $175. You can get a really cool tasting kit with 3 small bottles. Did you guys get that when you joined, or what was?
We did not know.
Not a tasting kit. No.
That's another option, but
the color of this one is gorgeous. I poured myself a little bit more when I saw it.
Well, that's right. I now want the tasting kit.
Moving on to 30.100.
He's got a pitcher. I'll take that pitcher.
That's water.
I know, but it's got the symbol on it.
Oh.
no. This is my cousin brought this back for me from the Oban distillery.
Oh.
Years ago. So
well, then that's fancy. That's cool. I like the look of it. That's good.
Yeah.
All right, I got to cleanse my palate here.
We're doing a little cleansing in between, trying to stay fresh.
So the region, so we had Speyside, we had Highland. The lowlands are not represented tonight, but I think the lowlands in general, for people who you're curious about it, in general, I think it's known for producing. First of all, the distillation methods are traditionally a little different. A lot of lowland whiskey is triple distilled, kind of like Irish whiskey, and so it's a bit more mellow and not refined is not the right word, but I think mellow and smooth is the basic word to describe it.
I love the lowlands. Glen Kinchy, one of my favorites. I get out of the lowlands, I get a lot of like cheesecakey type flavors. Matter of fact, well, it was the Epicurean is one of my favorites from Douglas Lang.
I knew that was from Douglas Lang. The Epicurean was one of your favorites, and it's
a lowland blend. But that's what you said exactly is what I get from the lowlands.
Scotch for Dummies coming to Chicago? They didn't tell me. Wow.
Tom is asking what coin numbers we're using, and I'm using number 13. I smell marzipan.
Yeah, I'm also 13 with a burnt toast, baby.
We actually got going. I didn't pull any of our coins in here.
That's right.
For those that watching don't know, the Scotch for Dummies got their coins. Go check out their website. I'm sorry, we're on the SMWS channel.
Yeah, sorry.
I was asked, you pull out new coins for when you're a guest?
Oh my. Okay, the nose on that.
All right, real quick. Cask 30.100 is what we're about to taste now. An abundance of fruit cake, 20 years old.
Oh, don't tell. I didn't want to know the age.
What?
I didn't want to know the age of it.
Okay, well, you can unlearn what you have learned. I mean,
yeah. Okay. I thought you were whispering.
20 years old. All right.
You were showing it, so I wasn't looking.
Oh, I didn't know. I thought you were going to whisper like
years.
you've got something on your face. I wasn't sure what you were doing.
I've announced every whiskey, so.
Yeah, I know. I wasn't sure you were doing something like, is there something on my face? Did I say something wrong? What did I do?
Second fill Oloroso Sherry Butt, bottled at 56.5%. Bart, you were talking about another whiskey that you're trying to find for Scott that sold out in 36 minutes or whatever it was. That's also from Distillery 30. That was a 9-year-old. And a first fill sherry, but this is 20 years in second fill.
Wow.
In the deep rich.
The nose on this is just a blast of sherry and roasted almonds.
Yep.
There's the dark fruits. There's the plums. There's the raisins.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an immediate blast. The almonds, I didn't have that, but that's exactly a roasted almond.
I'm going to need your sample back.
He doesn't want, you poured me a lot too. You poured you a little more than me though. I think you knew by the color something good was coming.
Well, and the name, what is it? Abundance of fruitcake.
Yes.
I was like, that sounds like my style. So yeah, the nose is not disappointing on this.
Drew, if you have a minute, if Drew from Scotch for Dummies, if you're in Chicago, you want to stop by, my office is downtown. You're welcome to have a dram. That invite was extended to anybody else in Chicago. You want to stop by, have a dram?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is bursting flavor. I'm curious. I want to let him go first on this. This is his wheelhouse. I just know this. Wow.
Yeah. I'll be checking the website at 1 p.m. Eastern time.
Call.
I'll be calling Brianna.
Yeah, get a hold of Brianna or
maybe Ben. Maybe I get
whoever's
Ben.
calling. Yeah.
We'll both be answering the phones tomorrow. Yeah. And every day.
Now this is the thing. Okay, so there is a lot of sherry here. It's dark. It's Oloroso, but it's not overdone. It's not overpowering. It's like it struck a delicate balance between too much and just right on the sherry.
Yeah, I think that's the mark of an excellent cask. I mean, pulling at the right time. You can't, but it's 20 years old. You think if it was an extra year, it might be a bit too much. And we're going back to, I think I love sherry in general, and I do like overpowered sherry matured whiskeys. I gotta turn around here. 78.41, a real sherry monster that Wes was referring to. That to me is like a really sherry forward whiskey, and some people love that, and I enjoy it as well. This is kind of going back to a bit more balanced in between sherry. You can really pick up the spirit and the oak itself. It's not too overpowering. It's kind of in between.
Yeah, Mark Broda just said Scott just had a whiskey gasm. You did too. I knew you would. This is good.
Yeah. The oak, but along with the sherry, I'm trying to decipher some of it. There is a heavy roasted almond in there.
The finish is really clean and crisp. It almost like turns off. Sometimes from a sherry, I'll get a sour note in the finish. Not here.
Yeah.
So I'm going to mention what's not here in this case, because that is something that I don't always enjoy with a sherried whiskey, is a little bit of the sour note. And sometimes it's there. It's not in this one. You do get that opening burst of flavor. I put in a little water. Let me do a little more.
It's so good. It's so good.
Exactly, Ben. Thank you.
No, look. Obviously, this is. I'm put on my brand badge for a second. Like every cask that we have is good. I mean, by design, it's supposed to be. We have a tasting panel that selects everything blind. We remove prejudice or just expectations. You taste things blind and you say, "This is a great whiskey. Let's bottle it for our members." So by design, everything should be good, of a certain excellence. That's the whole model of the society, and that's what we celebrate together as a community. But this one is just special.
It is.
I can say that, like, honestly, and just say this is one of the better, not better. I'm gonna just get myself in trouble here. I just love this whiskey.
It's good. Yeah, I mean, it's phenomenal. Like you said, there's a lot. And Whiskey Scout had a good comment. Where'd it go? I just saw it. It said a little bit of sourness is good, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I agree, and I can't find it now. It rolled on me. You see it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not here in this one. There it is, the Whiskey Scout. Sour notes are okay as long as they do not dominate. Yeah, and I agree. I'm just saying I personally don't like the sour notes as well. Not that it even ruins one with it, but this doesn't even have that. It's just a really clean, fruity explosion.
Price point is $175 for the 20-year-old second fill sherry butt.
That's a second fill? Wow. Very nice.
Yeah, I mean, I think you figure if it was first fill, it would be overdone, right? It would be high for sherry, and I think refill could mean typically third fill. It could be anything. It could be refill, second, third, or fourth. Or I don't know if the fifth is constituted as refill, but this is distinct second fill, and I think that at that age and that cask type, the balance is really perfect harmony.
Nice rich brown sugar on there as well on the finish. Just kicks in. It's a gift that keeps on giving.
So, question from where are you located in Chicago? The office here I'm in River North. We don't have a storefront you can purchase from. Everything is coming from our warehouse in New York. But you can certainly, sometimes we have casks like the ones that we're tasting here in advance. You can come taste them before you purchase. You're always welcome. Will there be an Outturn bottle bundle offered tomorrow? There will be a bundle, yes, Tom. We typically do that for a lot of people who want to buy multiple bottles and experience different flavors. We will do a bundle that's discounted. So that will be available as well.
Good. Eric Waite, also known on our channel as the Sniper, says, Bart, for me, whether it is sweet, sour, fruity, or peaty, what I want is balance and complexity. Well, I agree 100%. Mm-hmm. I also like a whiskey that moves through multiple transitions. I can there's some that it may not even be my typical flavor profile, but if it's open is a certain way and then it settles in and then it twists in the mid and then it has a whole different finish. Oh man, I love those. Anything that takes me on a journey.
I'd like to say with this one, the abundance of fruitcake, I added just a drop of water, maybe 2 drops of water. It's still got to be high. It's still got to be 50, 52% ABV. It's delicious.
56.5.
Yeah. It's really good.
Yeah.
I'm just going to stick with this one. You guys can move on.
Well, you better call it early.
We're entering the land of Bart next anyway.
Oh, I like the way you're talking.
When I was filming these the other day, we took, you kind of have to, like every member, when you purchase something, unless you hear an opinion or can try it at one of our events, which we're doing a lot more of, by the way. We're doing a lot of events coming up just around the country. You'll see more of those, but you kind of have to guess. So when I picked a few to do tonight, and I was just hoping that this would be what it is. And so like this is
hold on. Very quietly, not even intended for the show, I just heard him say, "Oh my." There was literally a "oh my,"
I did.
I feel like, Scott, you've been asking for this. Just when is this coming? And here it is, Scott. It's finally here. You know.
Yes.
There's a society whiskey for everyone, and this is.
He'll be. He's an instant buyer on this one. You might get two. Hand me a new glass. I want nothing else touching that glass. That one's good. That's perfect. Very nice. Very nice.
So, all right, we have two more. And we're entering peated category here.
Yes.
The very lightly one. This is actually in our. We have these 12 flavor profiles to signify basically the flavor to expect here. We have three of them are peated. We have lightly peated, and heavily peated. This is technically a peated whiskey, but it's been categorized in our blue, oily, and coastal category here because I think the overall experience, although the malt's been peated, the flavor itself is not as peated in experience.
Okay.
So this is a Highland whiskey. We're going back to the Highlands, but it's really kind of the sixth unofficial category. Unofficial meaning that's not recognized by the Scotch Whisky Association, but it's an island whiskey, a non-Islay island whiskey. So technically that's categorized as the Highlands, but it's 4.232, called All the Fun of the Fair. 15 years old, matured exclusively in a refill Oloroso sherry butt, 58.9%. So I'm just going to show this real quick. And this is, we didn't mention bottle numbers. This is one of 409. The one before it being a large sherry butt, it was actually 636. Meaning, wow, the evaporation rate, Angel shared this one. There's only 409 left after 15 years. But I'm going to pour this. You can see the color because as opposed to the very dark sherry matured whiskey we had, I'm going to pour this if you can see. It's a very light in color. This is a refill sherry butt, but in construct, this is it's like a straw gold.
Yeah.
Now, so and I haven't looked at the notes, but you were saying so this is a peated Highland.
Yes.
A refill sherry butt.
But it's from one of the islands, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's from an island, distillery number 4, that peats their malt.
I don't think I have 4.
Oh my! Look at the nose.
Of course, of course. A far north island.
I just said, look at the nose on that.
Oh, look at the nose on that.
Wow.
So yeah, refill sherry butt, but again, very light. I mean, color tells us something sometimes. In this case, it's all natural. I think right away when you see in the glass, this is one of the cases when you see in the glass is actually what you experience on the nose and on the palate.
Okay.
I'm guessing maybe a third fill. It's a refill, but I'm guessing at least third based on color alone. And it's priced at $160, also coming out tomorrow.
Wow. All right. First thing that was real interesting. Not all whiskeys will do this to me. Rubbing my tongue along the upper gum, I get a super sweetness when I taste it that way. And on the first open, I do get hints of the peat. But you're right; they're very subtle. They're very smooth. They're not overpowering. It's not a peat clod hitting you in the face. It's a subtle little whiff of the smoke. But again, if you then take your tongue and rub it along the inside of your upper lip, I pick up a super sweet burst of flavor when I do that. Sorry.
Just got a text from Mark. I'm going to call him out from Scotch for Dummies. We were talking earlier about the next whiskey we're about to taste. Not to get ahead of ourselves, but he accidentally sent the message that I sent back to me instead of to the other group guys. Just calling Mark out in public.
I know you moved on to the palate a little bit on the nose still.
Sorry.
Wow, that's a tough. The peat is not showing itself on the nose. Maybe slightly.
I get, and I know I'm way far ahead. I sipped it. I get a cracked pepper finish on the palate again. I'm palate in already. Beautiful warming. I just see this as a beautiful October dram as the temperatures start to come down.
Are you wrapped in a blanket?
I'm not in a blanket yet. That's full blizzard, baby. That's a full blizzard when I want to break something out. Now there's a fire going, but this is definitely, I'm sitting in front of the outdoor fire pit. There's a nip of the in the air, and I'm poured this, and it's just this warming mouthfeel.
Yeah, there's the peat. I wasn't getting it so much on the nose, but definitely on the kind of a mid-level peat though, not overpowering. It's not high. 20 to 30 parts per million, somewhere in there. Less than Ardbeg, less than Lefroy.
I could never do that. I can't do that. I got to describe it as like being hit with a dirt clod of peat.
Well, the other thing too about is the source of peat from the island itself is different. The earth, the geology is different from that of Isla. And
totally.
So parts per million, yeah, that's definitely a factor. But this one, it's very sweet. It's a lot of heather.
Yes.
So it's more approachable. And I do, like you, Scott, I get that on the back end too. Like at first, a bit soft, a little peppery maybe.
Yeah.
A little coastal, but on the back end, I do get that explosion of peat. And I haven't had the water yet, but I think that'll really evolve a bit.
Yeah, peat and salt as well. Lighter citrus notes with it. Lighter by, lemon, apple, pear, somewhere in that range. If I can't necessarily pin down a fruit, I'll say a lighter citrus compared to a darker citrus in the sherry notes, stuff like that.
I'm glad you clarified that.
Question from Eric. Will other reps be contributing to this channel? Yeah, I think so. I mean, so just the society in the US, we're a very small company. And everyone's doing a lot of different things. I'm not really a brand rep in the traditional whiskey sense at all. I'm here hanging with the Scotch Dummies and talking about it. But yeah, we hope to have more people come on and spend the time to make it happen. So it would be great. We have a great team working here, and everybody's working really hard to bring all these whiskeys to you. And so
now Whiskey Throttle's got a great comment. I'm not fully up. It looks like he's mid-conversation, but I got to give you some tasting notes. And Throttle, this is directly, but the reduced nose evokes brandy snaps dipped in dark chocolate being passed around in a bothy with a wood-burning stove. Now, I don't know. I know there's side conversations here, but that is a great description, sir.
I bet he's got to be copying that probably from the SMWS.
Oh, is that where it's coming from? I didn't know.
I'm a hazard and a guess.
Okay.
Maybe not.
Here's what the bottle says. This is kind of funny. The nose, seaside fun fairs, candy floss, hot dogs, axle grease, and seashells. The palate, char grilled tuna, honey on toast, and earthy spices.
Well, I've had axle grease before, and I don't think I'm getting that in here.
I think that the texture is definitely like there is like an oily, almost like an unnatural, in a good way, kind of motor oil. But it's the sweetness on the finish is very malty. For me,
I mean, everything we've tasted has been really good. I mean, we started with the lighter ones.
Yeah, you called it, Scott. He said those were the Scotch Malt Whisky Society notes. Well, good call.
It's either the SMW notes or he was mocking you and some of your descriptors.
Well, that wasn't mocking. That was beautiful poetry.
Now, I haven't even added the water yet. I'm going to add a drop of water here.
Now, you're right. We are entering my wheelhouse, Ben, and I like it. This is delicious. And what
was the age on this one? I missed it.
Can I tell you? Are you the?
Did you? Oh, have you said
yeah,
it?
Hold on. Now I've covered his eyes.
I'm guessing 12 to 15, somewhere in that range.
15. Look
nice.
At you. Nice. Well
palate.
done. Look at that.
Wow. I did say that earlier.
Yeah, he heard it.
He heard it.
Cheater.
20 ppm.
Oh,
look at you.
I just made that up. I actually don't know their ppm.
Delicious. Again, nice done, nice cask.
All right,
nice
now how much does this go for?
This is 160.
Okay. Wow.
Which very popular distillery.
Very.
And we, again, we really kind of push the flavor aside from distillery. I think a lot of people tasted these whiskeys, they would never guess the distillery origin.
Yep.
We try to like take our eyes off of that and just let the whiskey do the talking. But
no, that's one of the best and most unique things about the society. I mean, everybody wants to know. I've got my favorite ones. I know their codes and stuff, but I mean, especially with your panel tasting blind, we've learned the power of blind tasting. And I think that's definitely one of the high marks that the society gets is how they kind of move about their whiskeys, I think.
Well, I think a good whiskey is going to show it in a blind tasting. And I think a poor whiskey is going to show it in a blind tasting.
Which is why people pay a lot of money for marketing, because they can punch something up. Right.
So here, the Whiskey Throttle is, this is actually pretty flattering, asking why I don't get into tasting notes more. I've been watching Scott's face and enjoying like the whiskey-gasm place, and I've really enjoyed watching you guys taste this blind. I feel like, well, I watch your channel and I watch you guys do blind tastings, and those are my favorite episodes that you do, because it's just the most pure. But in general, I think with this whiskey, I think just the saltiness combined with like the sherry notes are very soft. Like it's a very soft. We came from that 30.100 full term second fill sherry, but it's a total Oloroso sherry bomb. And here it's a bit more soft. It's a bit more stone fruits, like some apricot. When you combine that, I think with the saltiness and that pepper on the back end, I like how it starts off and like really eases you in like a crescendo, and then it just explodes. It's really, I think, a roller coaster of a whiskey. And whether it's for October or like we're end second half of summer now, we're kind of getting those cooler summer nights here in the Midwest. We're all in the Midwest now, but I think it's a thought-provoking whiskey, which is what I like.
Definitely.
Yes.
And as unique as it is, it does still show that distillery character as well.
All right, get it prepared for the next one with your Gouda.
I better, yeah. Hold on, I'm finishing this one. This is delicious. That is top line. Wow.
So I think the official region we didn't talk about, which is Campbellton, and that's not represented here. But what do you guys think? Campbellton, to me, it's kind of like a lot of the whiskey enthusiasts are really paying a lot of attention to the few distilleries that are there. It was once a much larger producing region by
Springbank
distilleries. Yeah, and so now to me you get a combination of that very obviously the coastal nature of the spirit itself. I mean, the Springbank distillery, as you mentioned, they're doing some really interesting things with like 2.5 times distillation, and it gets kind of funky. But to me, it's a very funky coastal, really kind of the oddball of all the regions overall. Some being peated, some lightly peated or non. What do you guys think? I mean, do you enjoy whiskey from that region?
Now I'll tell you what, we've done several Springbanks. I've loved them all. I mean, from Springbank 10, I've got a 20-year ex-refill bourbon. We've got the Hazelburn. We've got a long row. And then we moved to the 12-year cask strength. And that one did not do it for us.
Well, it had that funk.
Yeah, the definite Springbank funk is like multiplied in it for some reason.
Some people say
now we're going to come back. Now we do have last year's batch as well.
The long row.
Yeah, delicious. Hazelburn, delicious. 10-year, delicious.
Yeah. And then we haven't had, I don't think you've had Glen Scotia, have you?
Mm-mm.
Right. And that's Campbellton too.
Kilkerran. So right.
I want to mention, so we had, keeping in the theme, we had the space side. We had a couple from the space side, which obviously most Scotch whiskey is from space side as a percentage. We had that one Highland. Well, 2 Highlands. This one being kind of an island Highland, but technically Highland. Very different. And then we talked about the lowlands, a bit more softer and mellower. Campbellton is that kind of funky oddball, but then now we're going into Bart, where your heart is, where my heart is more often than not, I think, which is the island of Isla.
Right.
So So for this one, I'm really excited. I know I teased this on Instagram. We've teased for all society members, if who get our emails, we mentioned last week a bit of news about this whiskey that's coming out tomorrow. We haven't actually told people it's coming out tomorrow, but you're learning that now if you're watching. This is a whiskey that recently was named the best cask strength Scotch whiskey at the International World Spirits Competition 2018. That news was just broke last week. That's one of the most prestigious whiskey competitions in the world, based out of London. And yeah, I mean, it's with awards it's funny. Awards are what they are, and being on this side of the table here, representing a brand that won best whiskey in the world at the San Francisco World Spirits Competition this year, you kind of realize when you work really hard at something. I remember years ago when Old Pulteney won it in 1989, and I bought one, and I thought, wow, these people up in Wick in Scotland, they win this award. It's kind of, they're working so hard all day long distilling, and it's really kind of a cool thing to do that. So we get pretty excited about it, but for us, the whiskeys that win, they're gone because everything's single cask. It's all limited edition by definition, and it's gone. So there's a very limited quantities of this whiskey coming out tomorrow, and then that's all there really is.
Dang.
Maybe 30 bottles in total, but this is cask. I'll show it here. It's cask 3.305. I think you know the age. This is from Islay, 28 years old. This is a double matured whiskey, so it's matured for 26 years in an ex-bourbon American oak hogshead. Then we transferred to a first fill Pedro Jimenez sherry hogshead. So that's similar to the first whiskey that we had, which we started with, which was the 76. That space side that was American oak, then PX. Kind of follows the mold, but it's a 28-year-old Islay. So really, really special whiskey. It's kind of shown. We've highlighted some of our more special and rarer casks with this black label, as you can see, in copper.
Yep, I noticed that right off the bat.
That's just things that you don't see every day. I mean, all these whiskeys are one of a kind. They're single cask, but something like this doesn't really come around too often. So I'm getting a first class for this one.
I get a very rich nose, rich sweetness, peat. It's a nice combination of both. Bart already went in on the palate. He's just skipping the nose altogether.
Well, I nosed it. Oh, hold on. I'm not skipping the nose. The nose here, I didn't get as much. I'm used to like a peat in your face nose.
Are you using your coin?
I was not using the coin, but the peat's there, but it's not, the nose is not a peat slap in the face right off the bat. It tells you there's going to be something more here. And I'm picking up some hints of some other things that I can't even properly describe.
There's a lot going on. There's rich sweetness. There's peat.
I get a lot of sugary sweetness,
smoked meats,
savoriness. But when I went in first, I didn't get the what I expected at first was maybe I was going to get that typical peat slap in the face. But again, this has been in 2 different casks, and it's been in for a lot longer than the young peat I'm used to.
I think it's glorious.
I think so the whiskey itself is the name of it's called the Sense of Perfection. 3.305 Sense of the Sense of Perfection. Members and myself, I go by the cask numbers. It's just how my brain works. A lot of people prefer the name, so I didn't mention that earlier. It's in the old and dignified flavor profile, rightfully so. But for me, when you nose this, I think it is just that. I know that sounds a little not arrogant, but this is an incredible whiskey that draws you in. There's like a nice sea breeze to it. It's peated, but it's not up front. The PX cask adds a bit of fruitness and vibrancy. But sometimes when you just like rejuvenate an old whiskey that's over 20 years old, this is 28 years old in total, sometimes it can take away from the old and complex nature of the spirit. I think this is done in a way that it adds a bit of vibrancy, but it's still very much a 28-year-old whiskey from the experience right off the bat.
Yeah, the richness is there in that 28 years. It comes through on the palate, and you swallow, and it's still there. And I'm talking, and I can still taste it. and I'm still bringing up notes. This is the only one I had a spoiler on from what you'd sent. Nothing. And I mean, when we talked the other day and then what you put out on Instagram today, I knew that one of these was the award-winning whiskey, and I saw your picture of the bottle. It was the 28-year-old. But the sweetness that wine cask influence, that secondary casking, the sweetness with the peat that's still there, that 28 years of aging. I mean, it's still there in my gums now.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's one of the gifts of even an Islay whiskey, in my opinion, or is that the finish is generally, not always, but is generally a very long and smoothing, sometimes even transitional finish. And this one lingers with still some brown sugars in the finish, but with the hint of the smoke still wrapped in there. I'm trying to figure out the smoke is a lot, it's subtler. And again, as an Islay whiskey ages longer, the peats get a little more subtle and complex. It's not a punch in the face at this age. It's a lot more of a complex layer of peat.
I think you can really stick your nose in there and just take the deepest breath possible, and then inhale, and it's just like a wave of like sea foam, just right up the nostrils. And that sweetness of the PX really comes through. And I keep going back to that. I think it's really timed well. If it went any longer in that PX, it'd probably take away from that the earthiness and the coastal nature, the salinity of the Islay whiskey. But if it was any shorter than that, it probably would be it would be minimal, and therefore not any influence at all. But this is just a whiskey that I think is just timeless in experience. If you like peat, it's not like Bart, I know you I like, as you do, like the young, smack in the face Islay whiskey. This is obviously not that. It's kind of one of those, have a bottle, reach for it sparingly, kind of just in the moment, maybe get other people out of the room, but just you and yourself in a glass. And I think a lot of people who are watching this can appreciate that moment. Probably
right.
One of those.
Because there's definitely more going on here as well. You're right. The PX has brought in a layer of sweetness that kind of floats through, maybe even hovers slightly above. And I try to tag the types of peat, but this is more of a peat smoke, as if I almost feel like I was in town while they were smoking their barley, and I'm picking up that waft of peat as it's on the breeze, and getting it that way. It's not the smash in the face, the explosion of peat. It's much more of the peat's on the breeze. You can't mistake it. It's delicious. It's strong, and then it's laced with this sweetness that is really nice. And you're right. This is something, quite honestly, I'd want to be alone with maybe some smooth jazz or something, and I wouldn't even want to be taking written notes. I would just want to be sipping and enjoying with nothing else. It's the end of the day. It's later at night, and it's just me, and it's just the whiskey.
I just keep thinking smoked ham and almost like a cranberry sauce, but not, more like a plum sauce that's on it at Thanksgiving time. But then also like a vanilla frosting that's been drizzled on it. Like maybe like a cheesecake with a raspberry. There we go. Yeah. The raspberry white chocolate cheesecake.
And pour a little bit.
And I also say we've had several bottles from this distillery. None have appealed to me. This does. This is different. The casking with this has turned the tides.
Yeah. I mean, this is top notch.
Mm-hmm.
This is phenomenal. It also makes me want to try other offerings from the distillery. So, I mean, it's great as a representation of who they are as well. Although this again is where the society is great, because they're able to play with the whiskey and do the casking and let it be something that maybe, well, that it definitely wouldn't have been. And I think that's something else. That's what makes it a unicorn as well. How many of these bottles are there? You said 39?
I think less in the US. There's a total of 209 in the world. I mean, that was the yield of this cask. Is every bottle is one of 209. And I think tomorrow when we release it in the afternoon, it'll be about, I think there's around there, 30 something.
Okay.
In the
How
US.
much? How much does it go for?
$310 a bottle.
That's good. Wow.
So it's, it's funny to think about it. It's for a bottle of whiskey, obviously for a lot of people, it's a pricey one, but when you think about what it is, and a lot of people who are watching, who are like us, really into it, it came from the distillery. If it, it would be a lot more expensive. So I think that's the value of independent bottlers and our whiskey. We try to find, for a really great whiskey experience, a relatively fair price. And I think this is one that, relative to other things out there, is just.
Well, and you may not know, and maybe I'm putting you on the spot, but who decides like, hey, we're going to put this in a PX cask and we're going to use this one, and now it's time to come out. And again, if you may not have all that detail, I don't want to put that on you. Do you have any idea, just generally?
Yeah. So the society as a company globally, was fully independent since 2015. Previously, it was owned by the Glenmorangie Company, and since then, we really kind of shifted the approach more so from just bottling single casks from different distilleries to really the pursuit of just remarkable flavor. And so when that's the backbone of your business, if you will, you're just pursuing flavor. So we have a team of experts in our warehouse, and we have thousands of casks outside of Edinburgh, just aging. And so we have the element, which is the tasting panel. Ultimately, the tasting panel, which is made up of distillers and other tasting experts, blind taste test samples to determine what's going to be bottled.
Love it.
Before that point, we have a team of people in the warehouse really choosing the spirits to present to the tasting panel. And oftentimes they will now also double mature. And so that's a real team of really kind of masters of their craft who are trying to figure out, okay, what's really different and what's unique. But, their word is not final. They have to present those samples blind to the tasting panel. So the tasting panel doesn't know what it is. They just say, this is great whiskey based on the sensory experience I'm having with the liquid inside it.
Love it. If I'm the guy in the warehouse, I would be responsible for some of the angel share problems.
Yeah. I don't know what happened to that, Cass.
That one, the angel share really got a hold of there. We weren't sure when that one would be ready.
You would be the angel.
Mark Broda was asking a little bit ago what water did to this, and I've added a few drops. It hasn't affected it at all. I mean, it's brought down the ABV, but the palate. This is, I'm telling you what.
Yep.
At $310, nobody is going to be disappointed.
No.
In this, if you bought a bottle of this and you kept it, if you opened it right away,
sure,
or if you kept it for Christmas or you kept it for a special occasion, you're not going to be disappointed. Or you're not going to think I should not have spent $300 on that bottle. No,
and I'll tell you that I hadn't added any water to this, and it's a beautiful sipper. Even at, what is the ABV again?
This one is 52.8%, which is, it's retained that after 28 years. That's good.
Yes, and a beautiful sipper with no water added. I've just added a drop at that ABV level. It's smooth, complex, and rich.
I want to go to bed with this on my palate and see if I wake up with it.
I wasn't sure where you were going with that thing.
See, for me, it's like, I don't know that I want to go to bed with this whiskey. Like the 30.100, I'd go to the bed with that whiskey.
There you go. He said on his palate. Yeah, that's where I wasn't sure where you were going.
Well, I mean, you know what I mean. But I mean, this whiskey, it's like,
wow.
Some things you just can't, you realize you're not worthy of going to bed with. And
yes, I would do it.
You marry them or you just drink them. But
I would back your sentiment on that, Ben. I would go to bed with 30.100. I would go to bed with 3.305 on my palate.
Bart, Which one would you go to bed with?
Mine would be more of a menage.
The tasting kit.
That's right. The tasting kit would join me. I would be Hugh Hefner with I'd be like, bring the whole turn. What? We're just the turn. Sorry, I don't want to get anybody in. We're not on. What he's saying is we're not on our channel. I'll leave it there.
Well, okay. You're on our channel, and meat Cosmos.
These are phenomenal.
So okay, let's do it because we've exceeded the hour mark, and it's just so great to see everybody joining. And I guess you're the YouTubers, I should say. Subscribe to our channel if you'd like more of this content. But no, I think more importantly, a lot of you are society members already, so it's great. Just last note on this one, our final region, which is Island of Islay. Obviously, many of you know it. Known for producing this smoky, intensely flavored whiskey. This one at 28 years old is a different side of Islay. It's a rarer side, just being that it's so old and really it's lost a bit of that just smack in the face. But really, when it's lost, it's gained in, I think, just overall flavor of the cask itself. But that concludes our region walkthrough. But I'll do real quick a breakdown of what we did. We started with, let me grab it here. We started with 76.135. Moment of Serenity, Speyside whiskey. That's a 15 years old in American oak, and then finished in PX. That's what we started with. That came out in our July outturn, so that's available on the site right now. And then I have them on the floor here. This is 2.102, the Eternal Sunshine. That was the 12-year-old Speyside. I know it's really bright. I don't know if you can see that at all, but can you see that?
Yeah. Once you get in close, you can see it.
Once you get in close, 2.102, the Eternal Sunshine, right there, 12 years old. 125. Available tomorrow. All these are moving forward. All these are available tomorrow. And then we went to the Highland 26.121 called A Real Pick Me Up. 13 years in a first fill bourbon barrel, 130. And then we went to Scott's Whiskey Gasm, 30.100, an abundance of fruitcake, 20 years old, second fill sherry butt. That was something. And then just again, 4.232. Oh, I'm sorry. And that's priced at $175. 4.232. All the Fun of the Fair.
Nice one.
Highland Island and a refill sherry butt, 15 years old.
It's really nice.
And then we had the last one, which we just did, which was 3.305. The Sense of Perfection, winner of best cask strength Scotch whiskey, the International World Spirits Competition just a couple of weeks ago.
Well deserved.
20 years old, really kind of special. So just a note on all these. Again, tomorrow they're coming out around 1 p.m. Eastern. I'll just be very specific. If you guys want this last one, 3.305, will probably sell out within the hour. Just to throw that out there. So if you want to just keep that time in mind. I think some of these will also sell out within the first week. That's what they tend to be doing lately. So there you go.
Well, and just talk real quick on that. I know, and we're past the hour. Before we went live, you were talking about how the SMWS, a lot of your bottlings have been selling out quicker, and you have been seeing that uptick in those single casks going.
Yeah, I mean, I think we generally release the Outturn the first Tuesday of every month, and I think we've been consistently bringing more and more, and we used to be way behind the UK in terms of what we're getting, and the UK still gets a lot of casks first, but we're really caught up in a lot of ways. And so we're sending the emails out, and everybody who signed up to our emails is notified of the release, and we send all the cask descriptions in the email. You don't even have to go to the website. And then from there, yeah, they've been selling pretty quickly. I mean, people have taken note, and I think we've grown our membership just by organically here, or by talking about it more, perhaps. And yeah, so things are selling now. We're trying to make some adjustments down the road. We plan our outturns with 6 months at a time, but hopefully, I think in the coming months there'll be a lot greater variety, maybe twice as many casks per month.
Wow.
Not saying anything specific, but
sure.
I think we want members to be able to come to us, give us a call, and say, "Hey, I'm looking for something of this style or this flavor." And we do want to have whiskeys in stock to sell to them if they're looking for it. So it's a good problem to have, but I just want to throw that out there for anybody. If you're interested in one of these, you might have to act quicker than
and it. In some major locations, you have special society. Is it bars or clubs where they can come in and try different drams? I know New York has one, right?
There are a few, quite a few. There's a handful. They're on our website actually at SMWS.com. There are a few bars across the country that carry whiskey. It's a handful of them. There's none in New York specifically.
Okay.
Here in Chicago, we have a couple, and so you can go in and try. And I mean, more often than not, because whiskeys come and go here, there'll be casks that are no longer available. So I enjoy it. I can go to these places and I can try whiskeys that are long gone. Just a really kind of unique experience.
I want to come to your place because you look like you've got the lion's share there.
Yeah, this is open, I think, for Chicago members who want to come by. You're welcome to stop in, and had a couple tastings today, and just a couple people want to taste this whiskey before we air it here, and we're waiting for tomorrow for it to be released to jump on it. But if you're in Chicago, shoot me a message at ben@smwsa.com. And yeah, I mean, I guess last thing is if you're not a member, I know a lot of members are tuning in, but if you're not a member, it's $99 for the first year. If you join in, I don't know, mention Scotch Test Dummies or that you saw this show. I think that's good. Always good to know. And
good.
Obviously, we'd love to hear how people heard of the society and what their interests are in. So if you mention that in the comments when you sign up, but we'd love to have you.
Awesome. Thanks for having us.
No, thank you you were the guest. I keep forgetting that I'm hosting you. It's so unnatural. Like I was about to say, thanks for having me, guys, but I'm like getting my last word in as if like you're gonna close out and do something. But
trust me, I kept almost yelling "Scotch it, you Scotch gods," and I thought we can't do that.
Wait, hold on. Let's just close it out. You guys can close it out.
All right. So first of all, we had a great time testing it. So that was nice. That was good. And then what are we going to do, Scott?
Cilantro.
Cilantro, dummies. And Scotch it, you Scotch gods.